Hello everybody, Jake your resident content cowboy here, Yeehaw, and in just a few days, this little guy is coming to Pokemon Unite. That's right, Mimikyu is dropping in Eos Island, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know before you play Mimikyu. Mimikyu is listed as an intermediate special attack all-rounder, and that is wrong. It is probably intermediate, and it is not special attack. It is attack-based, and it is, yes, a melee all-rounder coming to Pokemon Unite. Mimikyu and its movesets feel equally good for brawling and massive single target damage, especially its Unite move. Let's go over all of it right now. Before we talk about Mimikyu's first two moves, Astonish and Scratch, I think we do need to talk about one of the biggest parts of Mimikyu's kit, and that is its boosted basic attacks right here. As you can see, when you hit with your boosted attack, you hit multiple times, and you get a boosted attack every single time you use a move throughout the game. So you can use a boosted attack, immediately use a move, get another boosted attack, immediately use a move, get another boosted attack, on and on and on. And this is going to be a huge part of how you play with Mimikyu. Mimikyu's passive is also extremely important. It's Disguise, but we'll talk about that a little later here. Let's talk about these moves really quick. Astonish is a decent move, a little bit of an area right here with a good burst on it, so you can use this to secure some wild Pokemon, especially given that you can use it, you know, and then attack immediately right after with a boosted. So your secure is going to look something like that when you're inside of lane. And then you also have Scratch. It's a two-part move. You actually don't even need to hit the first part to unleash the second. Some dash moves like this you do. With Scratch, you do not. You're able to just use it and then use the second part of this move. So you dash in, you can do a big boosted, and then you can also use this final sort of coup de grace hit right here to do a little extra damage. It does more damage the lower your opponent's HP is, so this can also be used for securing last hits and helping you to secure KOs. And all the while, all of this is giving you boosteds the entire time, which is, again, a huge part of the play style with this Pokemon. Now let's talk about your next move choice here, either Play Rough or Shadow Claw. Play Rough, unfortunately, in my opinion, is not very good. I don't think any version of Play Rough inside of Pokemon Unite is great, especially compared to the other options here. What you do with Play Rough is you dash onto your opponent, very similar to what you do with Zacian, similar somewhat to what Azumarill has with their Play Rough. You dash onto them, you deal damage, you can take damage and be stunned while this is happening, and then you can dash off in the direction that you kind of dashed into them with. So you continue following that line of movement through. It can be sort of decent for chasing, but in general, the low amount of damage it gives and just, I don't know, overall, I feel like having a dash is nice, but your other option is just a lot stronger. It does decrease enemy movement speed, and after you get the plus version, you get a move speed increase after you use it right here. So there may be something here with decreasing enemy move speed and chasing them down. You're probably going to combo a Pokemon like this with something like a Razor Claw, so there are definitely some cool options for this move. It just feels like it's really outshined by the other choice. Your other option, Shadow Claw, has a ton going on. It hits enemies, it decreases move speed, and it heals you. Not only that, it has multiple levels of Shadow Claw that are all charged up by hitting enemies with your basic attacks, something that you're doing a ton with Mimikyu. So you can see the base form of Shadow Claw right here. By hitting an enemy one time, you can see that getting boosted. You hit him again, and then finally, you hit them the fourth time, and you can see the little gold aura around it being the highest level you can possibly achieve with Shadow Claw. You're going to hit them the most times and do the most damage with this move. Again, after you use Shadow Claw, you get a boosted attack, and after you hit your opponents with your basic attacks, you reduce the cooldown of Shadow Claw. So use Shadow Claw, you hit him with basics, and it's right back at full charge right away. The amount of comboing with this move is just so incredibly powerful. It makes Play Rough, unfortunately, not an option at all, in my opinion, unless Play Rough was way stronger. Something interesting about Shadow Claw is the move speed decrease can also stack, and then the plus version of this move does more damage based on how low their HP is, so you're just giving yourself an execute move onto yourself as well. I feel like it's too good to pass up. I think Shadow Claw is definitely the move for this slot. Your next move choice is either Shadow Sneak or Trick Room. I think both of these moves are really cool, while Shadow Sneak is just kind of wild. Shadow Sneak It works a lot like Dream Eater on Gengar. You throw it into an opponent, and then you have the ability, as you can see, this little blue line that is ticking down around the move there, to sort of heat sink onto them, dash into them, continue to deal damage with Shadow Sneak right here. Now, it does a lot of really interesting things. First off, you probably saw as I was trying to cast this move, the weird sort of increasing distance this move gives you. When this move travels through walls or travels through grass, it increases the amount of distance that you gain from this move, which gives you the ability to jump all the way into the Rayquaza pit for some insane KOs, pick off a Pokemon who is running away, who thinks they've definitely gotten away, but you can actually get to them from absolutely absurd ranges. It's going to give you the ability to jump all the way towards the opponent's side of the map and steal buffs and things like this. If you know that this buff is up, without even seeing it, you can make your way over to this buff, bounce into the enemy jungle, and start taking things. It's just so incredibly useful, so incredibly good. I think Shadow Sneak is going to be a very, very important move for this Pokemon. And it resets on a KO, not only of an enemy, but also of a wild Pokemon. So you can juggle this move around the map so easily. KOing an enemy who has this Shadow Sneak aura on them, that right there, while that's on them, or KOing a wild Pokemon while it's on them, will reset Shadow Sneak. It's nutty, and it does feel like Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw is going to be the preferred moveset for this Pokemon. There's definitely some cool stuff going on with Trick Room as well, and I want to tell you a little bit about Shadow Sneak Plus, but yeah, I mean, Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw feels like huge moves for Mimikyu. The upgraded version of Shadow Sneak Plus will give you increased cooldown for this move. So the move cooldown is, you know, after you cast it right there, it's like 5-6 seconds. I think the actual cooldown is like, yeah, a little over 7 seconds right there. So you just get some move cooldown right here. But if you're using Shadow Sneak properly, you're resetting the cooldown for this all the time. Still a nice bonus. I'll show you some more cool stuff with Shadow Sneak here in a minute, but first let's talk about Trick Room, because I think there's actually a lot going on with Trick Room that is really good. Trick Room gives you a dash, so actually better than a dash, a little bit of like kind of a jump right here. And the reason I say better is for some reason some moves kind of get you stuck in walls right here, but it looks like Trick Room will let you jump over certain obstacles and things like that. Lots of dashes do, some weird moves don't for some reason. So you get to kind of have this little hop right here, and then you set up a Trick Room. Inside this Trick Room, you're able to use this dash over and over and over again while you are fighting. Inside your Trick Room, if something was going to reduce your move speed, it will increase your move speed. I don't think that's really the biggest thing about Trick Room. A couple really cool things. Anyone outside of the Trick Room does less damage to you. So if someone is fighting you at extreme range, like a Mewtwo Y or something like that, you are able to take less damage from them if they are not inside the Trick Room with you. Now, while you're inside the Trick Room, you are also able to continue dashing right here, and every single dash that you set up with Trick Room will give you a new boosted. So you dash boosted, dash boosted, dash boosted, dash boosted. It feels like I'm saying it feels like a German song right there, dash boosted, but that is what you're doing inside this right here. And all the while, if you have a move like Shadow Claw, you're basically setting up super easy level 4, you know, top level Shadow Claws all the time. So you can jump in, you can attack, Shadow Claw, move around, dash, move around, dash, move around, dash, move around, another Shadow Claw, dash, move around, and you're just going to keep moving, keep getting boosted, keep resetting your Shadow Claw, and it's going to be a really powerful area for you to fight in. I don't know if it's going to have enough utility to really beat out Shadow Sneak, because Shadow Sneak just feels so incredibly powerful, but it could be a really cool option for this Pokemon, and we're really gonna have to see once it comes to the main game how much value you get out of the not taking as much damage when you're kind of in the Trick Room, because that could be a really huge thing. Or if the enemy team is really heavy on slows and stuff like that, you might get a lot more value out of this move. Let's talk about the Unite move. The Unite move is super interesting. You will jump on your opponents, even if they are in their Unite move, like you just saw from this Snorlax right here, and you will deal damage to them. While you are dealing this damage, no one else on your team can deal damage to them, and no one else on the enemy team can help them. So they can't be saved by a Blissey safeguard or anything like that. They just have to deal with you dealing this damage to them. This stops after a short time, or you can see that shield that's on me after your shield has been depleted. So it's kind of reminiscent of one of those modes like when you're playing a co-op game with your friends and an enemy sort of grabs you and you have to hit that enemy to let him go. I guess it reminds me a little bit of like a Turtles in Time something from an arcade. There are tons of modes like that though, so it reminds me a bit of that. The enemies can help their allies by hitting you and breaking this shield, but it's a ton of damage, it's single target, and it's something that is impossible to get away from. At least right now, from what I've seen, nothing can get out of this move. I bet the only thing that could stop it is Slowbro's Unite move. That, and of course, like I said, dealing a ton of damage to Mimikyu. So you're going to use this move to jump in on your opponents and do an extreme amount of damage. Something to notice is it doesn't work on any wild Pokemon or objective Pokemon, so it is only targeted towards enemy Pokemon. This substitute doll counts as one, so you're able to jump on it and deal pretty good damage right here. I feel like this is going to be used a lot to isolate and KO squishy enemies right away. Like you get a quick dash in with a Shadow Claw on a squishy Pokemon, boom, you unite them right away and you take them out of the fight. Even inside Charizard's Unite move, you can jump up and bring it down from the sky. Now, of course, Char will have the rest of its duration, however long its Unite's been going on, to hop back down and fight you. But there are just so many things that this Unite move will be able to counter, and it's going to be pretty awesome. It would seem that it can jump onto essentially anything that's happening inside the game and stop it. Again, the only thing I don't know about is Slowbro's Unite move. Let's talk about Mimikyu's disguise. So Mimikyu's disguise is on right now when he's kind of standing upright right here, and then once I take a set amount of damage, it breaks and puts a mark onto my enemy right here. So Char is going to damage me. It's going to break my disguise. Boom, and you can see those two little lights or little Mimikyu eyeballs, I think, on top of Charizard right there. That is when this Pokemon is marked by me, and during that period, they are taking extra damage from me. If I'm able to KO them in that moment, I am actually able to reset my disguise even faster, and that would just make it easier for me to fight the next Pokemon that comes. You can see the gauge fills up, and then boop. The disguise is back, and you can see it is also indicated by kind of that little disguise that is around my level there. Also, after your disguise is broken, it does nullify the damage you receive for a small amount of time, and then when you are going after the Pokemon that has your revenge mark on them, you have increased move speed, so you can get to them faster and you deal more damage to them. I told you I'd show you some more stuff with Rayquaza and Shadow Sneak right here. I've talked about this in another video right when we were testing this on the public test server, but you are able to get to Rayquaza from some pretty extreme distances with Shadow Sneak. You can throw Shadow Sneak all the way back through some of these walled moments to make it into the pit right here. So it's really, really effective at having some very big surprise moments at Rayquaza where you're going to come in and be able to secure it from your enemies. It's going to set up some really, really amazing stuff. Let's get Rayquaza back on the battlefield, everybody. So the fight around Ray is going to be very interesting when Mimikyu is around, because at any time you'll be able to hop on in here. You also, of course, just could throw your Shadow Sneak onto Ray and then wait until you decide it's time to go in for a secure, or, you know, throw it onto an opponent, dash on in and fight. There are going to be a lot of amazing plays that you're going to see with Shadow Sneak, and again, it increases its distance every new kind of bit it goes through. So it goes through this wall, then it goes through this grass, goes even further. I mean, you can run it all the way up the sideline right here, like into the enemy base, basically. You're just going to have some really, I don't even know what I got. Wow, I hit that Bunnelby all the way over. Like, Shadow Sneak is going to have some crazy cool plays. Items for this Pokemon are going to be very interesting. Because you have multiple attacks and you're autoing a lot, I think it's very likely you're going to run a Muscle Band. I think using a move and then into a boosted means Razor Claw is going to be a very, very common choice for this Pokemon. And then the third item is going to be something that you really want to, you know, benefit your build or how you like to play. I could see people running a Rapid Fire Scarf for just faster attacks. I could see a Scope Lens, Weakness focus policy, attack weight. There are a lot of great options here. I kind of tried messing around with an energy amplifier, but it just felt like you didn't really need the extra damage from the Unite move. The Unite move was kind of doing its job by itself, and you didn't want the entire time your amp was on to basically be its Unite, but I could see some people running it for fun. There also is the idea of running possibly a buddy barrier or something like that on it, just so when you use your Unite, you're not so easy to get taken down. I think that could be a cool idea too. For boost emblems, you're going to want to run something like this. This is brown white that is really focused on a little extra critical hit and a little extra attack. You also could run a version that looks a little more like this. This one is brown white. You don't get the blue, but you know, 1% defense really isn't a thing. And this one is more focused on giving you HP. But in general, it's attack based. You're in the enemy's face. You're going to be running brown white like you do on basically every attack based Pokemon in the game. I'm so stoked for this Pokemon coming to Unite, especially with whatever balance changes come to the game. Let me know what move you're most excited about in the comments. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and Mimikyu will be here very soon. Yeehaw!